suddenly, there's 4 of us.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And again, I repeat, no pre-planning, no careful appraisal of your potential partners, their resumes, their this, their conflict, their client list, nothing of the sort. 2 days later, we agreed that we needed to identify a new office that we would move to.
Yeah.
We thought about our respective offices, there wasn't enough space. And so, as you probably know, Tom Onyango is Chancellor of the Anglican Church, the ACK Church. So he said, you know, the church has a building in Upper Hill, which we're just turning from apartments, these were our apartments, into offices. Do you guys want to have a look at them? So he said, fine, let's go up and look at them. So we all drove up, okay. This was pretty much empty at the time. The UN was just moving, WHO was just taking second floor, I believe. So we looked, we thought, yeah, we can make something out of this. So we reserved the offices. We got an indication of the rent. We got somebody to draw, a designer to draw for us how the space would look like. We inputted into it because I had in mind not stiff, you know, sort of wood-paneled offices. Wanted to break away from that tradition that lawyers seem to have. Wanted something more airy, more modern-looking, and that would allow us to grow as well. So we didn't search very long. We got an estimate of what was required, and we said, guys, we need each of you to put in a kitty X amount. And that was our first contribution to the merger. And we just made contributions as we went along. No previous budget, nothing complex. And it taught me, actually, that the greatest ingredient is trust. Because we came into it with a trust in our respective motivations and in what we wanted to do. And that has been the thing that has held us together. So we did the offices, we chose the furniture together, we put them in, we closed our respective farms, we moved here. For about 3 months after, I have to accept, there were like 4 farms running here. Just close your office. You can rebrand, but you know your clients still identify you as Kibet and Company. And there's ongoing work, there's a transaction, there's this and that. So there was all those loose ends. But the other thing that astounded me was that we said, guys, you have 3 months to collect any outstanding fees owed to your old farms. And you know how difficult it is to collect fees.
It's very difficult.
At the end of 3 months, if you have not collected that fee, you have the opportunity now to declare an extraordinary item, we call it, if the fee is significant and you want to retain it. But at the end of that 3 months, if you have not already collected, it goes into a common pot. Whether it was a matter you had finished and you labored and did all the work, it will belong to all of us. And everybody agreed. So that's how we came about. And so you can see that with that, it's actually been quite easy for us to make decisions. I'm to confess, I'm a bit of a control freak. So one of the things I told them was, James, obviously you admitted first, as to all of us, even though you and Tom are contemporaries, so you'll be a senior partner. Tom, you will handle our real estate. Now we had a difficulty because James, Gennaro, and I were all litigators.
Yeah.
So there was a bit of a difficulty about what to do there. But we said, James, you will be head of litigation. And I said, I will be managing partner.
As it will help till now.
Yeah.
I see.
And they were gracious enough. They said, no problem.
Yeah.
And that has allowed me to bring my vision to the firm, to direct it the way that I've envisaged. Downstairs when we were having our celebrating James's 60th birthday,
Yeah.
I was saying one of the privileges I've had as serving as managing partner all that time is I have never once had a decision questioned. And we have never had to vote on any decision. So it's helped us to inculcate a culture that we would like, one that allows regeneration, because we're very big on regeneration. We truly value the next generation. And one of the things I truly commit to doing is to supporting that generation to come through. And I see that generation as coming through initially from pupillage. I see pupillage as the doorway where you select the best talent available. And we started that out right from the outset. And obviously, when we started out, we would not be the first, second, or third choice because we were relatively small.
Yeah.
There would be other firms to which people aspired to go, which have since receded. And we are now top choice for a lot of new lawyers,
Yeah.
which I'm truly proud of. But we try and select the best talent, and to then nurture it and ensure that when they come through, they're ready. Yeah.
Very good. So, Senior, tell us how, for the sake of young guys who are probably in at the Kenya School of Law, or guys who are probably in their fourth year, and before they start going for Kenya School of Law, they want to intern with you. How do you identify your talent? What kind of qualities are you looking for?
That's interesting. When we started out, the partners would interview all the pupils. And then we would have a second round, and if necessary, a third round. We thought about the methodology used by some of the other firms, a written interview or a written sort of exam thing, and then fixed questions and so on. And we decided that no, that didn't work for us, because beyond your, we started off, with the supposition that if you have your law degree and you've attained a certain upper second, shall we say,
Yeah.
then academically you're good. So what are we then looking for? We're then looking for the other qualities: aptitude, your ability to think, your ability to think on your feet, because those are slightly different. Your ability to deal with unusual situations, your articulation of issues, and that's what interacting with potential pupils enables us to do. Enables us to get to the point where we understand who you are, or we hope that we understand who you are, and we then make a selection. So it's become more complex now because we have so many applicants now.
Yeah.
So now we have a first round of interviews which are undertaken by associates. So we have associates, we'll have HR first, sieving through the applications and making sure that they meet a minimum standard. If they don't, then we'll have to turn them down and not offer an interview, because the parameters will have said this is what we're looking for. And then they will pass them on to our senior associates who will sift through, determine who to interview them, scale down numbers, pass them on to the partners. Now again, because of the number of applicants, and over time we've increased our intake of pupils. I think we started off with 2 or 3 pupils. Now we take about 12, I believe.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. Then we will have panels of partners interview different groups. And then that again, which each panel will shortlist, and then we'll have a final round which all the partners now interview all the candidates, so that we have some balance in the interview process, some agreement as to who we think are the finest pupils.
Yeah.
So that way, hopefully, we get who we're looking for. Yeah. In the early days, it was frustrating, I have to admit, because you would have your short list, and then people comes back to you and says, sorry, I accepted somewhere else. And you knew invariably to maybe Kaplan or HHM or MNC or, you know.
Yeah.
But more and more, we have less and less regret.
Yeah.
And more people are like, no, Triple OK is my first choice.
Yeah.
And I think it's because we offer a vibrant environment, we offer a challenging environment, we offer an environment that allows growth, but also interaction. We don't have those strictures that, you know, if you're a pupil, you cannot work with a partner. I work with pupils all the time, you know, because I think that they should be exposed to the length and breadth of practice, and not just work in the sense of technical legal work. Speaking for myself, I'm lucky, and I think my pupils are lucky, because from a very early stage, they're exposed to everything that I do. So whether it is court work, whether it is client meetings, whether it is arbitration, and with arbitration, I'm counsel, I'm also arbitrator, so you're exposed to both. They sit with me through the sports tribunal. So, you know, that exposure to all that is a rich mix, which I'm sure is very difficult to find somewhere else. And then we have a rotational pupillage, which I picked up from HHL, which allows exposure to each practice area. Statutory pupillage is 6 months.
Yeah.
We say you must commit to 1 year, because we just don't think 6 months is sufficient.
Yeah.
So our pupils commit to 1 year pupillage, and during that year they'll have 3 months with each practice group. Some smaller than others, because we're always looking for growth areas. So technology, media, and telecommunications, for instance, which we practice in, is relatively new. Not many firms will offer that. Things like climate change, for instance, we are looking into. Just those financial services, which is slightly different. The Sports Tribunal allows now exposure to sports law.
Yeah.
Arbitration law and practice is allowing more and more people to have exposure to the ADR space. So yes, we try and get the best talent that we can identify, and then we try and expose them to a challenging environment in which they can grow and thrive. But we're also very sensitive to the environment we create, and we try to ensure that it's not an oppressive environment. Because again, you hear the stories about the environment in which some pupils, you know, come through.
Yeah.
And I would never want that for any of our pupils. So we try and make sure it's a safe environment where they can interact, enjoy themselves, but learn as well and emerge, you know, as well-rounded individuals.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that. I'll ask a question about awards. I know your firm and you individually have been feted in many categories and for many awards. and I was lucky to have stood beside you when you were awarded as People Master of the Year by the Nairobi LSK branch. But going back, what do you think is the role of these awards and these recognitions as far as practice goes and as far as clientele is concerned, such kind of things?
I think it's very important. I think that if you think about ourselves as human beings, recognition is integral to allow you to actualize, or even for yourself to appreciate that there's somebody else who appreciates what you do and how you do it and why you do it.
Yeah.
And I think that drives you to not sit on your laurels. It drives you to continue to want to pursue excellence. The first time I can remember winning an award, back in 2010, out of the blue, I got an email from some guys who call themselves International Law Office, and they were doing what is called a Client Choice Award. And the unique thing about this is that you are nominated by your clients. And this is international, incidentally, not Kenyan. You're nominated by your clients. And so I don't know that anybody is nominating me until I receive this. And so they say, you've been nominated. We will tell you who has nominated you, but you've been nominated. And we need you to answer a couple of questions and so on, which I did. And they came back to me maybe 3, 4, 5 months later and said, you are the winner in the category of litigation for Kenya. So Client Choice Awards in the category of litigation. And I was like, wow, okay. And they said there'll be an award ceremony in London on a specific day. And I bought a ticket to London. I went to London. I attended the award ceremony. I went with my wife. She was very proud of me. We had a nice dinner, and and then they give you a booklet in which your names are published, and it enables you to put it in your resume, number one. But that's not the biggest thing. The biggest thing is you then begin to realize that your clients recognize what you are doing. And so over the years, I won the Client Choice Awards for Kenya in 2010, again in 2015, 2017. I've been notified again this year that I'm the recipient of the Client Choice Awards. There are numerous publications, emails I get every single day, which tell me you're the winner of this award. And now what I do is I pass it on to our business development team and I ask them, is this kosher? Is this worth our publicizing? Because some, they'll tell me, the visibility or the reach for this one is not significant. And honestly, I ignore them, So you get to the point where you start to choose the premium ones, Legal 500, IFLR, Chambers Global. They validate you. And so when the Nairobi branch of the LSK introduced this, which was now an award by your peers, your contemporaries, I was actually very intrigued, because I wanted to find out, do my peers, the fraternity in which I practice, do they think the same about me as my clients do, as the international community does? Because a lot of these awards are driven by the international community. You get a phone call from London and they interview you and they say you've been selected. And you know, sometimes you can think that maybe they have a different viewpoint, or maybe the nature of clientele that selected you is one that is very narrow, and therefore it's not truly reflective of you and what you do. And so when the very first one that you and I were privileged to win, when I was first nominated, I thought, ooh, okay, interesting. But I was nominated in 2 categories, in People Master of the Year and in Lawyer of the Year. And so you actually then realize that, yes, actually, my fraternity, my peers, my colleagues actually think that I merit this. And there is nothing more gratifying than that. And then you actually win it.
Yeah.
People Master of the Year. I was runner-up for the Lawyer of the Year. The following year, I was then Lawyer of the Year. This year, I've been nominated for ADR Practitioner of the Year and People Master of the Year. I think somebody said he can't nominate Lawyer of the Year, so let's not nominate him. Let's not nominate him for that.
We're not good to have
But the answer to your question is, I've come to recognize that it is important. It is important across the board, whether you're a lawyer, whether you're a sportsman. You know, a lot of sports have Player of the Year, Goalkeeper of the Year, and you realize it's for a reason. It validates the work that you do, because the grind is tough. It is tough. And for somebody to say, yes, we recognize you, we appreciate you, you don't know how much fuel it adds to that fire.
So as I just picked that you've been nominated for the Arbitrator of the Year.
ADR.
Or ADR,
yes.
Practitioner of the Year. So you're big on arbitration.
Yes.
You are, if you have to look at legends, I think you feature somewhere there. Now, maybe as advice to upcoming arbitrators, how did you get into it? Was it an instinctive thing? Because I've picked a bit of your instinct. I could be wrong, I could be right. Did you do it instinctively? How did it come about, and what's the message that you pass to the young generation who are coming now?
Well, the first thing is the young generation is lucky because they get exposure to arbitration and ADR very early. I think the School of Law now offers it. There's all these moot competitions and so on. I never had that exposure. We didn't have arbitration through my pupillage. Even though Mr. Nyamu, Joseph Nyamu, or retired Justice Nyamu, was chairman of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators. But it was small. You never really got that exposure. I stumbled upon arbitration because there was a piece of litigation in which we were instructed. There was an arbitration clause, and we were defending, and the other party activated the arbitration clause. And so we had to go to arbitration. So we went to arbitration, and I have to say, one of the things that attracted me was a control of your environment. The arbitrator said, we'll start at 10. We started at 10. I was like, wow, okay, this is good. And we went through the entire day, 10 a.m., break for lunch, 2 to 5 p.m., took our witnesses, resumed the following day. And when you're a litigator, you start to become a bit cynical because you go to court at 9, they eventually reach you at 11, and then your hearing starts at 11:45, and then you take your first witness, and the judge rises at 1, and you haven't finished that witness, and he gives you a new date in January.
That's so specific.
Honestly, yeah? That's the way it works.
Yeah.
You will be lucky if you have continuity.
Yeah.
Today, because we've changed the way that we present our pleadings, witness statements, bundle of documents, etc., etc., it runs faster.
Yeah.
Because you hand over your witness and directly onto court. So it moves faster. When I started, you take your witness, first of all, through the examination in chief. What is your name? Who are you? Where? What is your relationship to the plaintiff? What happened on this day? And the judge, hold on, counsel. Then you have to tell your witness, slow down. Yeah? And when you do a pre-trial, you try to tell your witness, watch the judge's pen. Yeah? Now, this whole thing has been borrowed from arbitration. In arbitration, that's just the way you present your witness statements, your documents, because you're very conscious that you're burning time and money. And that controlled environment I found so attractive because it allowed me fully to express advocacy, because you cross-examine and you will finish your cross-examination and you will move on to the next witness and you will finish your hearing, you will have your submissions, and then you will move on to you will get an award within a specified period of time. Yeah? I've had litigation that's run 10 years. I've had litigation that I've been, by the time we finished the case, we've been through 5 judges. So when I contrasted the two, I just thought, as a dispute resolution forum, you can't beat this. Yeah? And I like my air conditioning.
So you can confirm it was not the money?
No, when I started, I was acting for a party. So there was no money involved. No money in the sense of as an arbitrator.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that, incidentally, as counsel, you earn more money than an arbitrator. Because, as an arbitrator, I also assess costs.
Yeah.
I see the bills that parties present. And I'm also a lawyer. I know how bills and costs are presented. Yeah. And I know that, your party and party costs times 2. So I know what your fees are. Yeah. I know what you paid me. Yeah. And it is a small fraction. Yeah. So I don't do arbitration for the money. Yeah. I'm much more active for parties. Yeah. But arbitration is attractive for me also because it allows me to what we call double hatting. I practice as counsel and I practice as an arbitrator. Yeah. But it also enables you to bring to the environment the values that you espouse, integrity. And as an arbitrator, if you're rogue, you can be rogue. Because when you're a specialist arbitrator like I am, I know that the court will not interfere with my findings of fact. Yeah? So, I can make a finding of fact which is contrived. But I have to recognize that I have a responsibility to go beyond just demonstrating to the parties that I have had them. I have to take into consideration all the points that they have made, the caseload that they have put before me. And what I do as an arbitrator is I try and do what I would have loved for if I was appearing before a judge, for the judge to require of me. Yeah. Because, you want to be challenged, for instance. And I've always been very uncomfortable if I appear before the judge and the judge has no questions, for instance. I've never thought your job is just to scribble my arguments. As a judge, you're deciding cases every day. Yesterday, you might have decided a point contrary to exactly what I'm arguing. Yeah. Just tell me, counsel, I decided that point yesterday. Yeah? On the basis of X, Y, Z. I might push back and say, but Judge, I think you were wrong. Or I might say, Judge, okay, I accept that. Let me move on to the next point. So when I'm an arbitrator, I try and not allow the parties to simply put their cases forward. I interfere. I will say, I hear you, but have you read this authority? I hear you, but this is what they're arguing. What is your answer to that, that factual issue or that proposition? So when they go away, and I've had many times parties say, can we adjourn? Can we adjourn and go away and come back and address you on that issue? And let me tell you, it truly is gratifying when you can achieve a higher level of advocacy or extract from counsel a higher level of advocacy because you're pushing them to do that. Today I was speaking with opposing counsel in a matter that was coming up for hearing today. And 6-7 years ago, when they first filed the suit, we sought to activate the arbitration clause in the contract. And they opposed it, for some technical reason. And the judge agreed with them. And so we had to stay in litigation. Today, and if she is hearing or listening, or eventually will, she will know who she is. Today she calls me because she wants an adjournment. She's for the plaintiff. Because her client is getting on in age, she has to substitute her witness because it's become hard of hearing, because 7 years have passed. And if you think that this was a piece of land which our client bought for 600 million 7 years ago, you can imagine how much it is today and the loss of opportunity that those parties have had in that period of litigating. Because of this litigation, my clients have not been able to develop the property. I mean, would you shy away from paying 5,000 bob to an arbitrator when you look at that opportunity cost? You wouldn't. So I reminded her, I said, 6-7 years ago, I said, let's go to arbitration. And you declined. I think there's a real benefit. And today, a lot of judges who are sensitive about it will tell you, if you got an arbitration clause, go to arbitration. We're becoming a much more pro-arbitration country, and I'm really pleased about that. I really am.
Utua has a pressing question.
No, mine is the last one. It's the last one. Yeah. It's also really pressing.
It's not pressing. So let me ask my last one and then you ask your last one. So that is not pressing.
Yes.
Over time people talk about self-actualization, talk about morphing into something else. I practiced for a while and then I figured I was at or about 17 and decided to do something else. What is this thing you think about when you're that you will transition or morph into when you're done with practice?
People ask me, in fact, some of my people ask me, you're senior counsel, why are you starting an LLM? I'm doing an LLM in international dispute resolution now. Because I've thought that there's a gap there that I need to fill. It stretches you, really does, to have the workload that I have and then to have to be in class, study, and then to have assignments. Now you can imagine you have an assignment and you have a matter in the Supreme Court. What are you going to What are you going to prioritize? But I think now I have the clarity of mind to decide what I wanted to pursue. I'm already doing some international arbitrations, but become better known on that platform. I mean, I've been named in Legal 500 arbitrators list for Africa, top 50. And I think the African Arbitration Association published a top 30. from Africa, and I was named. And I think that surely there must be a global list. I want to get onto a global list, not simply be confined here. So, the other thing I've become quite passionate about is governance. I'm sit on several boards, and I look at how boards operate, and you see the difference in the different boards that you sit on. So again, my partners think I'm crazy, but I am doing an LLM in corporate governance.
So you're doing 2 LLMs.
So I'm doing 2 LLMs. I don't know how I juggle it.
Yeah.
So far, I've stayed sane.
We can tell.
I'm very interested in leadership. Because I think that there is something to be said for leadership in shaping people's thinking, in creating opportunities, and also espousing values. Yes.
Senior, you've had the privilege of sitting on chairing the sports dispute tribunal. What's the most ridiculous stroke, funniest thing that you've ever seen there?
That's
It must be very
difficult. The funniest thing from my perspective, but it isn't funny, was official of a federation who came to the tribunal and told us blankly, as the tribunal, that the federation belongs to him. It is his.
Can you guess?
Can you guess?
No, don't guess.
We are not going to guess, but
Yeah.
And this is, sorry, your reel will run out. Because it gets me started on talking about governance in sports. Because that's what's wrong with our sport. The thinking that you own the federation and you can decide what to do and how to do it, irrespective of the parameters of the law, the needs of the players, the athletes, and of course, the sporting fraternity, which includes fans, and the nation, which all are interested in following sport in different degrees, depending on the sport. Yeah? So we laughed at the time, but I can assure you when we retired, we said to each other as a tribunal, atajua hajui. Yeah, so there are other funny things you come across, arguments that are made and so on.
Yeah.
But I thought that for me was the most unfortunate.
Yeah.
all right. So you're good.
Yes, I was conscious.
Of course.
And this is, sorry, your reel will run out.
As he said, quick one, Wakili.